Hello and welcome to this video where we'll come into control structures. And in control structures, we have if statements, we have while statements, and we have for statements. And in this video, we'll go into if statements. So without further ado, we'll go into our Visual Studio Code. In this beginner lessons in Python, I will create a new UV virtual environment. But however, if you already have one, you shouldn't do UVVenv. So UVVenv only if you don't have a virtual environment already. So then we have a virtual environment and then resource.ven bin activate. And you know that this is scripts instead of bin if you're in Windows. Okay. So now I install uvpip install ipykernel. So now I have installed ipykernel to my system so that I can use Jupyter Notebook. And then I do touch if. I can do touch, let's see, touch if statements. If I can spell correctly, statements dot type in B. Like this. Okay, great. And then I can open this up and change here to Python, change to my virtual environment. I close down my terminal as I don't need it anymore. And I will start with if statement like this, change this to Python. Okay, perfect. So now let's begin. So we can start with very simple. We do h equals int input, enter your age, and we have an age limit equals to, say, 15. Okay, so if age less than age limit, print, sorry, you are too young to attend this scary movie. Print, watch cartoons instead. Okay? Else, print, enjoy this scary movie. So if the age is less than 15, then this code statement will run. Enter your age, 16, you can see the first one. Enjoy this scary movie. Run this again, 14. Sorry, you're too young to attend this scary movie. Watch cartoons instead. How about 15? Enjoy this scary movie. Why is that? Because 15 is not smaller than age limit. So 15 is not smaller than 15. That evaluates to false. And if it evaluates to false, then we'll go into it. So remember, every time this expression becomes true, then the statements within the indentation will be ran. So very important is that we have a colon here, and then we have indentations. If you come from other languages, you're maybe used to using curly braces, but in Python, it's based on indentation. So colon and indentation. That is how it works. Okay, so this was an easy if statement. We can continue here. Equals 15. Height equals 150. If age larger than 11 and 130 smaller than height, smaller than 10, print welcome to roller coaster. Else, come back when you fulfill requirements. So run this one. Welcome to roller coaster. Okay, so this is quite interesting. In Python, you can write it like this. 130 is smaller than height, smaller than 210. In other languages, you will have to write height larger than 130 and height smaller than 210. But in Python, you can write it in this neat way to specify intervals. similarly as you would do in math. Okay, so if you want to make it into equal, you could copy this one. Now we could do, for example, here. So this means if we have an age of 130, this one is fulfilled. Welcome to roller coaster. So this one means larger or equal, smaller or equal to. So 130 is smaller. It's not smaller, but it is equal to 130. So that one becomes true. So this part becomes true. And then age larger than 11. Yes, because age is 15. So that is true. So we have true and true means we have true. So remember that true and true becomes true. True and false becomes false. True or false becomes true. False or false becomes false, right? False and false is false. This you should know by heart. Okay, let's try something out here. We have the modulo operator or the modulus operator. Modulus operator. Or I think it's called modulo in English. I'm mixing languages a little bit. Okay, so number equals 5. If number modulus 2 equals 0, then we print even number. Else we print false, odd number. Odd number. Why is that? That is because, let me do another code here. So if we do 5 modulus 2, we get 1. If we take 4 modulo 2, we get 0, right? So this one gives 1 and this one is 0. So what does modulo operator mean? It gives the remainder after the division. So the remainder of the division, the integer division of 2 is 1. So 5 divided by 2, that is equal to 2 and remainder is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 0 and the remainder is 0. So number equals 5. If number modulo 2 equals 0, then we have an even number, else it's an odd number. So this is obviously an odd number. So if I copy this one, we can have, for example, if we have 50, then it's an even number. Okay, so can I make this a little bit, I can change this up a little bit. Copy it again. So if not this. So if not number modulo 2, so this is an even number. So this means that number modulo 2 will evaluate to a true, right? Okay, so this is quite strange to read. So let's break it down a little bit. Number modulo 2, this is equal to 0. And 0 is actually a falsy value, while 1 is a truthy value. 2 is a truthy value. So it means that if 0, then it will be false. If 1, then it will be true. So what this means is that if I change this to 5, then I will get 1 from this expression here. So then I will get not 1. So it means that this will becomes false. So it's an odd number. So this logic was a little bit strange. I would instead write it like this. Number equals 5, and then if number modulo 2, so this means that it will become 1 or it will become 0, right? And when it becomes 1, it's a truthy. And if it's truthy, then we want it to be odd, right? Because when it's 0, we want it to be even. Okay, so then we just print even, odd, because it's a truthy value. Else print even. So you can see it's odd. So in this way, when you're getting used to reading and understanding truthy and falsy values if using if statements, then this is quite readable, I would suppose. I think, actually. So another type of, so here we're experimenting a little bit with truthy and falsy. So truthy and falsy values. So what you could do more is, for example, if an empty string, empty list, then we can print. So we print empty. So this will be false. So we can say we don't get anything. However, if we have, or we shouldn't print empty, we just print hello here. Because I don't, yeah, we print hello, and then we can print else. Or we can do it like this. Ah, falsy don't have an E here. Falsy. So you can see it's falsy because it's an empty list, then it's falsy. However, if we have a list with some item, 3 for example, then it's truthy. If we do similar here, we have 0, this is falsy. If we have 5, it's truthy. If we have -5, it's truthy as well. Okay. So here are some explorations with truthy and falsy values. And using a not, you can negate it. So then we also have, we can have if, elif, else statements. So, for example, we could do like this: weight equals 50, for example, or 12, we say. So if weight smaller than 20, print give patient 500 milligrams. Elif weight less than 40, print give patient 750 milligrams. Else print give patient 1000 milligrams. And this is 500 milligrams because the first one is true. However, if I put in 25, for example, we see we go into this one. So here you have if, elif, else statement. So elif means else if, so that if this one is not true, the first one, then we come into the second one, and then we'll come into the third elif statement, etc. And then in the end, we come into the else if all other ones are false. So this is if, elif, and also there is, let's see, there is some logical operators, which I won't go into here. It's in the lecture notes. I said them before that, for example, true and false becomes false, true or false becomes true, etc. So these I've talked about. Go into lecture notes to see more. So we go into nested if statement. So we can check, for example, if number module 5 equals 0, then we can print f string number is divisible by 5. And then if that is true, we can go further. If number is modulo 2 equals 0, then print f string number is even. Else print f string number, let's see, number is odd. And we can put in a number, for example, 25, and you can see it's 5 is divisible by 5. It's actually, the number should be 25 here. So strange. I wrote 25. Must be a number equals 25. Okay. 25 is odd. Yes, exactly. So this is nested if statement. So it means that we go into the first if statement here. If this is true, then we continue with the statements here, and then we have another if statement here to see if this is true, we continue with this statement, else with this one. So if I copy this one and just make another number, for example 26, then we see nothing happens. And as you may note is that nested if statements, they're a little bit hard to read. It's possible to do, but you shouldn't nest too far. And if possible, avoid it. However, it's possible to do. Okay, and one last thing I want to show is one-line if statements. So we can do this. Name equals Olivia, gender equals female, age equals 7. If O in name, print f string name contains the letter O. Okay. So this is not a ternary if statement. This is just a normal if statement, just that I've written it in one line. So it's possible to write it like this. Yeah, it doesn't print out anything because it's actually capital letters. So let me change it to, I can do O dot lower to make it into, actually, no, not name, no, not that one, this one, name dot lower. Okay, so that means I make it into lowercase, and if O is in this lowercase Olivia, then we print this out. Okay, so it prints it out. So note that this is just, we've written an if statement in one line. However, we could split it up in several lines, and that is what you should do. You could do like this. I'll just copy it and show you. If I do autocomplete with Shift Alt F, but you need to have black installed, Shift Alt F, and you can see it becomes formatted as normal. Okay, so I'll remove this one. And now I'll make another one. We can do print f string hi Mr. name if gender equals male, else print hi, let's see, f string hi Miss name, and you can see hi Miss Olivia. So it means that this statement will be run if this condition is true, else this statement will be run. You can also do one line if else and variable assignment. So for example, is child equals true if age smaller than 18, or we could do like age equals 5. And then we can do this child here, and you can see it's true. Let's see. Is child? Yeah, it is true. Yes. Good. So this is a one-line if-else variable assignment. And this is quite useful when you have different conditions. Okay, so in this video, we've gone through the control structure of if statements. We have started with a simple if statement. We have gone into modulo operator if statement, and we have checked the and falsy values. And then we've gone into nested if statements and different one-line if statements. I hope that this was informative and you learned a lot. And I strongly advise that you commit and push your code to GitHub so that you have it on your GitHub repository. I haven't done it in my demo, but you should do it because I already have my code in a code repository. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one. Bye.